Good evening, and you are all welcome to this Teagasc webinar on applying for the 2022 Organic Farming Scheme. The scheme opened for applications on the 9th of February and it will remain open until the 8th of April. So how does someone apply for the scheme and what's required of entrance to the scheme? So what's it all about? Well, to answer those questions, we have three very experienced panelists with us this evening to go through it with us and to get to the bottom of some of the questions. So first up, we will have Kevin McKeever from the Organic Unit of the Department of Agriculture in Johnstone Castle. He will give us a presentation on the nuts and bolts of the Organic Scheme 22. Our second speaker will then be Elaine Leavy. Elaine is an organic specialist based in Grange with Teagasc, and she will cover the application process. Our third speaker then will be Joe Kelleher. Joe is also a Teagasc organic specialist. He's based in Newcastle West in Limerick. And Joe will cover how organic farming can positively impact farm profitability. So before I hand you over to Kevin, I just want to point out that the webinar is being recorded. If you have any questions, please submit them to us using the chat function that's there. We will answer them all at the end of the webinar. It's the question and answer tab at the bottom of your screen. Lastly, then, I want to note that as well as the Teagasc farm walks that are coming up during the spring and summer, that the organic bodies, the Irish Organic Association and the Organic Trust have their own farm walks that are ongoing and coming up. And please check their websites for these details. I know that the Irish Organic Association have their walk coming up this Saturday, 11 to 1 at Mark Landers, that's in Monaghan. The Organic Trust have theirs on March the 1st, also from 11 to 1 at Clive Bright's farm in Sligo. So, so with that, I will hand it over to Kevin, who will be giving us a presentation on the new Organic Farming Scheme 2022. Okay, thanks, Kevin.
Cheers, thanks. I'll just share my screen here if you just bear with me there a sec. Good evening, everybody, and my name is Kevin McKeever from the Organic Unit in the Department of Agriculture. And this evening, I just want to outline to you the whole process of applying for the Organic Farming Scheme. So just a couple of important dates to note. Glen has already mentioned that the scheme opened on the 9th of February last, and the closing date is the 8th of April. So there's another, I suppose, 6 weeks in which to get yourself geared up and submit an application. And the BPS closing date then is the 16th of May. So the Organic Farming Scheme, it's an online application only, online application then for the BPS. It's your option if you want to engage with a planner or Teagasc Advisor, because it's a pretty simple process, but you must also complete a level 5 course in organic farming. That's a 25-hour course, and they are being currently run by Teagasc, and Elaine will outline that to you later. And you must have an organic license. So you can contact either of the organic control bodies, the Irish Organic Association, who are based in Athlone, or Organic Trust, who are based in Naas. They both do the exact same job. They're working to the same organic EU regulations. Their fees are, of course, depending on your farm size, but their fees will be in the region of 400 to 600 euros per annum. That's to have your license. And simple way to contact them is text organic to 51444 for the IOA or 51777 for the Organic Trust. And they will outline the requirements, prepare a conversion plan, and once you have all that done, you apply for the scheme on agfood.ie. So the scheme was open in 2021. So the changes in this year's scheme from 2021. So the full organic farming scheme payment has increased now from the upper limit of 60 hectares up to 70 hectares. The rates, you would get €220 for in conversion up to that limit, and thereafter €60 per hectare. So we've introduced this to encourage the larger farmers to come in, because there is a lot of leakage. What I mean by leakage is animals, beef and lamb in particular, that are born organically, they don't finish up organically, so they're lost throughout the chain. And we've also introduced a reduction in the stocking density to receive the full payment. So this too is to account for farmers in marginal land that may not have been able to hold that level of stock. So we haven't reduced it from 0.5 livestock units per hectare. That would equate to 1 suckler cow per 2 acres, or per 2 hectares, sorry. And that's gone down now to 0.15 livestock units per hectare, and that would equate to a ewe to the hectare. So there's a substantial decrease there, and if it's a thing that you're still not achieving that livestock density, you would get a reduced pro rata payment based on the level of stock that you have on the holding. And we have also revised the ranking and selection. Now, we're confident that the budget allocated to the scheme this year, which is an additional €5 million, that will be enough to allow for all eligible applicants into the scheme. But in the event that it isn't, there will be prioritisation of younger farmers, higher stocked holdings. And when I say higher stocked, I'm referring to those that have between 0.15 and 0.5 livestock units. There'll be a higher markings for up to the 0.5, but anything above that, you won't get any additional marks. Also, the organic strategy for the development of the sector highlighted the areas in deficit: horticulture, cereal, and dairy. So we also want to encourage that. We want to encourage total conversion over partial conversion, and we want to prioritise mixed farms. And again, as I mentioned earlier, we want to encourage larger farmers into the scheme, as well as all other farmers. So just to outline the payment rates, up to 6 hectares for horticulture, there's an in-conversion rate of €300. That's during the first 2 years of conversion. And then thereafter, it's €200 per hectare. For tillage, for the first 20 hectares, €260 for the first 2 years, and thereafter €170, which is the same as the grassland farmer. And the grassland farmer just there below, up to 70 hectares now, the in-conversion is €220 per hectare. And after the 2 years, when you've fully converted, €170 per hectare. The approval process, again, okay, a farmer submits their BPS, so the closing date there is the 16th of May. Once the BPS is finalised, which will be during the summer, probably August, September being realistic, we will commence our ranking and selection. And we plan to issue approvals in October, and advance payment, that will be an 85% payment in November of this year. Now, just to look forward to the CAP strategic plan for the period 2023 to 27. So the overall draft plan has been submitted to the European Commission. That was done on the 31st of December last. That would include the organic element also. That document is available on the department's website. So between now and over the next weeks and months, the commission officials will be in contact with the department, engaging with us and to ensure that they are satisfied with our draft plan. And then we expect to have formal approval, all going well, in the middle of the summer. So that's the position at the moment. So there on the screen, you can see the telephone number for the department. Lot of detail available on the website, agfood.ie/organic. And again, if you have any questions, simple email to organic@agriculture.gov.ie, and we'll hope to reply to your queries. Just one point that if one comes into the scheme this year and the payments increase under the new CAP strategic plan in 2023, you will automatically get them higher payments. So if you're all ready to come into the scheme now, there's no reason why you should wait and hope that the payments will get higher next year, because if they do, you will also receive them higher payments. So that's all I can have to say at the moment, but available to take any questions later. Okay, thank you very much.
That's great, Kevin. Thank you very much for that presentation. Kevin, you can see there in the questions, maybe later, there's one on turbary rights from one of our attendees at the webinar, so we might get you to answer that for us later. So our second speaker this evening now is Elaine. She's going to cover the application process and simplify that for us. Okay, thanks, Elaine.
Okay, Glenn, thank you. Now I'll share my screen. Okay, everybody, good evening, everybody. I'm just going to follow on from Kevin in relation to the organic farming scheme. Kevin has outlined dates and all the rest in relation to opening to closing the scheme and the application, all the rest. So I'm just going to go through it in a little bit more detail in relation to the steps. So what I'm going to start with is, how do you apply for the organic farming scheme? And then I'm just going to talk a little bit then about, as regards what kind of farm outside the back door there in relation to your farming practices, what considerations you're going to have to think about in relation to your farming practices. So starting off then with applying for the Organic Farming Scheme 2022. The first thing you have to do, and Kevin outlined it, is that you have to register with the organic control or the organic certification body. And their role is to inspect, license all organic producers, processors in Ireland. So all organic farmers are registered with an organic certification body. There are two main organic certification bodies in Ireland for land-based organic farming systems, and they are the Irish Organic Association and the Organic Trust. So Kevin has outlined the details of those. So there's more details in relation to their contact details. So the first thing, so let's say you decide, yes, I'm going to convert my farm to organics. So what is, maybe sometimes actually the converting the farm is the easy part, but you have yourself converted that you are going to convert your farm to organic. So what do you do? The first thing you have to do is you have to contact one of the certification bodies and you have to register with them. How you register with them is there's an application that has to be made to the certification body. So you contact your certification body and they will send you out an application pack. And in this application pack is what you have to do to make an application to send back to the organic certification body. Just to give you an overview as regards what that involves and what are the documents that we're talking about, is the first one is an organic conversion management plan. And this is a plan that you put together and you have got the guidance from the certification bodies. And really what it is going through exactly what you're writing your historical management of the farm. So how you've been managing the farm up until now, and then going forward, how you're going to manage your farm. And the certification body will give you a number of headings that you have to fill up under. So this is your conversion management plan. Again, as Kevin said, you can do this yourself, but of course, if you want, you can also get the help of a planner. With that, then, if you're in an animal situation, you have to put together an animal health plan. And this is a plan that is put together in conjunction with your veterinary surgeon. So this outlines up to now your general animal health plan that's on the farm and going forward in relation to treatments, vaccinations, mineral supplementation, etc., that will be put in place on the farm. Also, you have to send a copy of your most recent soil results, and the soil results will give a base as regards where you're starting with soil fertility, pH, etc. So your soil results go along with it. They will accept soil results up until the previous 2 years. However, if you haven't got your soil results at the time of application, you can forward them once you get them. They can be taken now and submitted later. Again, your farmyard sketch, so an outline of your farmyard sketch outlining all your housing, storage facilities, etc. A farm map needs to be submitted, really just outlining all your land. So a map with a red line all around your area being farmed. Then you have a form called an ORG1 form, and that's a form that you fill up when the certification body gets it. They register you with, because there's a must remember, just another point to make, there's a cross-reporting mechanism between the organic control, organic certification body and Kevin's organic unit in the Department of Agriculture. So this ORG1 form is filled up, and then when that is then used to put you up on the system with the department. And then there's a number of small OCB forms and a registration fee. So you put all that together, put it in the post, send it to your certification body. When the certification body, when they receive that on their desk with this ORG1 form, they will register you on the system, notifying the organic unit that you have registered as an organic farmer. And what this does then is you're registered then with the organic certification body, who have in turn registered you with the organic unit, the Department of Agriculture. What this will do then, it will allow you then to go in and on the ag food system to apply for the organic farming scheme. Because sometimes people ring us and they think, I want to join this organic farming scheme, and they think all they have to do is to actually apply to the Department of Agriculture. You can't apply for the organic farming scheme until you make your application and register with your certification body, because then you're on the system then to be able to go in, you or your agent go into the ag food system to make your application for your organic farming scheme 2022. And as Kevin outlined, the deadline for that is the 8th of April. Then most of you then will be filling up in 2022 your BPS, or your base payment application. Those forms are actually coming out, or are some of the maps anyway are out, so the forms are coming out. So when you're doing your base payment scheme application, there will be a box there that asks you, are you going to be farming organically in 2022? And then you go down through all your LIPIS, your plots, and you will be putting them as in conversion if you're a new applicant in 2022. So that all has to be done on your BPS application this year. And as the deadline for that, the closing date for that is the 16th of May, because as Kevin outlined, when they're going through for assessing your parcels, they will be cross-checking the area that you have declared in your BPS application. So that's why it's very important to do it. So certification body, ag food, and BPS. So those have to be done, and the dates for that. Then Kevin mentioned also part of the application process is the completion of a 25-hour organic production course. us in Teagasc, we run the 25 organic farming principle courses. We're doing them. We have an online waiting list there. If you go into teagasc.ie organics, and you can register to do the course, and myself and Joe have been rolling them out. When numbers come in, we're delivering them accordingly. Also to mention, NOTS, the National Organic Training Skill Nets based in Drumshanbo, also provide the same course. Again, just to mention, maybe a common question is regards how much the course costs. It costs €220 is the cost of the course. In relation to anybody that applies for the organic farming scheme this year, you have until the 1st of November 2022 to upload your course cert from doing that course on or before the 1st of November. You have to go back into agfood.ie where you apply for the scheme, and you upload your course cert there by the 1st of November. Then that really is it. Just to go into more detail, I just want to spend a couple of minutes in relation to what you have to think about in relation to farming considerations as regards organics. And I just have a lot here, but I'll just go through the headline ones in relation to organic livestock considerations. I suppose one thing we should think about is that when you convert, and Kevin outlined there, it's a 5-year scheme, and he was talking about an in-conversion payment and a full symbol payment. There is a conversion when you go in, when your farm has to undergo 2 years conversion. So that's to remember that you're farming in conversion for two years. And as you can see, the way the payments are structured is that you get a higher rate of payment during your conversion. Also, to look at your stocking rate, you have the minimum stocking rate, but some farmers, depending on the part of the country you are and your quality of land, what stocking rate can I carry? Again, of all the farmers that are farming organically with stock, there's huge variation in what they're carrying. I would have my own experience with farmers. I would have farmers, they may come down for the first couple of years. I have many farmers saying to me, I came down in the stock in the first couple of years, I got into the system and I came back up. So again, it varies from farm to farm in relation to it, but there would be people who may reduce stocking rate at the start and maybe come back up. So again, a number of factors. The whole area of animals and sourcing cattle, etc. You are, for example, let's say in a cattle situation, in a suckler situation, in relation to replacing male breeding stock, you are able to buy in your conventional bull. In relation to replacement female stock, you are allowed with permission from the organic certification body. If you cannot find suitable female breeding stock, there is an allowance there to bring in non-organic maiden heifers or breeding ewes or ewes that have come in are allowed to come in. So that's important to note. The whole area of animal health, and a lot of people think about animal health in organics. Can you treat? The golden rule, I suppose, in one sentence, routine veterinary treatments are not permitted in organics. But if you have a sick animal, that animal is treated immediately and there's no animal allowed to suffer. So you treat that animal as you would do if you worked organically. But the only thing is there is just longer withdrawal times have to be adhered to. So animal health is paramount. The whole area of animal welfare also is very, very important. Another question that we get about is the whole area of animal housing. And animal housing is something that some people, it may cost money to make changes, but there is the organic capital investment scheme there from the department if there is changes or modifications to be made to the housing. In relation to animal housing, the two things to take note of is there are specific space requirements made out for each type of animal, and there has to be a lie back bedded area for animals to lie back on. So 50% that the animal requires has to be a lie back bedded area. Again, in relation to the housing, what bedded material can be used. Non-organic straw can be used as a bedding material. In relation to feed is another thing as regards when you go into organics, any rations, concentrates, rations that you buy must be organic, must be must be organic. Again, there are a number of the feed compounders that have organic feed concentrate available and are available in local stores. There will be a number of other organic growers that have set themselves up in likes of selling combi crops and cereals to other organic farmers. So it is available, but you need to do your homework and to have it in place if needed. Grassland management is very, very important in organics. We would have a lot of people would say to me on a daily basis, look, I'm nearly organic. I'm not putting much fertilizer out on my grass, but still it can be a worry that they don't have that quick fix solution there. So grassland management is key, but again, it can be done and it may take time to adjust to the system. But look at most farmers that are farming organic that have grassland, they absolutely are able to produce enough grass for animals. It does take that little bit of management, but it's very, very doable. And overall, maybe it's where you should end up then is where your markets are. And in regards to livestock and all the livestock enterprises, there are processors available taking all products. There are other, I suppose, organics. I would say in my own experience, there would be a lot more organic farmers taking the initiative to actually sell the produce themselves, to add value and sell produce themselves, be it meat products, etc. You would also have farmers that have formed networks with other farmers, and farmers are trading cattle from farm to farm. Also, as we mentioned, the certification bodies, they have classified sections where you can source animals. And also there are a number of marts throughout the country that have actually organic designated marts available. For example, two would be to come to mind would be the likes of Kilmallock and Drumshambo. So those are the kind of things to be thinking about. Looking on the, just looking on the organic crops considerations, again, something similar, your organic conversion. So as we said, you go there, your land is going under conversion for those 2 years before you'll have an organic crop. In relation to questions we get about seed, organic seed is available. There is a seed database there, organicxseeds.com, that you can go on and see all the seed suppliers that are there and what seeds are available. You then have to look at maybe going for winter or spring crops. Some people might prefer to go with, if they can. Again, in organics, weather can be a huge influence on what you can and cannot do. So the winter crops, some farmers may go for winter crops because they might have the crop established before there's weeds is a problem. Other people, depending on weather, quality of land, etc., may go for spring crops. Your seeding rate, yes, some organic farmers would go with a higher seed rate just in case that they'd be worried about weeds and for the seed to get the crop to start growing. In relation to crop choice, variety choice, again, what you can grow. Again, talking to farmers growing organic cereals, a lot of them would go back to historic times and would have talked to maybe their fathers, grandfathers as regards many years ago, the cereals nearly grown in every part of the country, and they would use local knowledge in relation to what their land is suitable for in relation to the type of crop and the variety of crop to grow. Then you would look for varieties within the crops that would have maybe good disease resistance. For example, when somebody's growing potatoes, they may go for a variety that has a good blight control, that they would have a good resistance to blight. Again, weed, pest, disease and management, again, you're looking at different approaches at it. You're looking at, I suppose, a lot of farmers would say from a weed pest, from a pest disease point of view, that maybe organic crops wouldn't be under as much pressure, with that the crops could be hardier and more open with the fact that artificial nitrogen is not being applied. Again, you'll be using a combination of maybe putting in wildlife strips to get natural predators in. So you're looking at a lot of approaches there, but it is very, very doable. Another thing may be quite obvious, but again, access to machinery. So that's another thing for consideration in relation to what access to machinery and to be able to get a contractor. And then also maybe as well as that, looking at your storage as well. So they're kind of just whistle stop things to think about in relation to crops. This is just to give you an idea. The dates and everything is a leaflet that we have on our website, and it guides people to a step-by-step guide to conversion. So all those steps that I started with are all outlined on that step-by-step guide to conversion. And just finally, our organic farm walks. Again, this is a program that we've been running with the Department for Agriculture. Oh gosh, I won't say how many years I'm doing this program, but for I've done a lot of conversions, and I've converted to organics a large number of times for these farm walks, but they prove really, really successful, and we always get great crowds on it. And like we've talked about organics here and giving you a very good outline, but it's also great to get out and actually see it in practice. And so it's a good way of looking at, maybe if you have any fears or anything in relation to organics, to see it on the ground. And those farm walks, we have 12 of them running from the 2nd of March. And the first one, we're heading to Clare next week to Shemus Howard's to an organic dairy farm walk. And then followed, we're heading to Kerry then, Hill Sheep. And as you go through all of them, all enterprises are represented there. So again, we would have farmers that are thinking about organics going there, but we've also farmers that are farming organically. As they say, it's a school day for everybody, and everybody can learn at those walks. So Glenn, that is me. Thank you very, very much.
Very good, Elaine. So I suppose there's a lot of questions coming in. We'll hold most of them for the end, but maybe while we're waiting for Joe to get his presentation ready, one question there, Elaine, was someone asked, what did you mean by routine veterinary treatment? That routine veterinary treatment wasn't allowed. So just what did you mean by that, maybe? Is that okay?
Yeah, it's kind of, let's say, a routine vet that you can't go in. There has to be a reason for going in. So let's say if I took a fecal sample from my animals and there was a worm or a worm burden there, I can go in and I can treat my animals, but it has to be justified. But yeah, to that's what I mean by there. Yeah,
that's perfect, Elaine. And that's great. We're handing over to Joe now. Thanks, Joe.
So thank you, Glenn. So I'm just going to give you a run through how organic farming will impact on your profitability. Now, some people may be expecting me to detail exactly how much money you're going to make and how much money you may not make out of it. But unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to do that, because I can guarantee you there's 115 people here as I look at the screen. There's going to be someone in the audience with 1 acre of horticulture, and there's also going to be someone with probably 100 hectares of a hill sheep farm. So trying to do a one size fits all when it comes to the economics of this is not possible. So what I am going to do is there's a number of factors that are common across all sectors, and a number of kind of core accountancy principles, you could call them, really that affect everyone. So maybe what I would recommend is that if you had a pen and paper beside you to take down, I've 8 key steps, and if you had a pen and paper, hopefully at the end of this you might be able to have a good attempt at doing your own set of figures for what converting to organics could impact on your profitability. So the 8 steps that I'm going to go through, I've listed here, that if you can kind of figure out what your position is in these 8 steps, you should be able to make a fair stab at identifying what organics is going to do for your bottom line. So the first, I won't go to list them there, I'll go through them as I'm going through the slides. So look, the first one, the product you're selling is what's going to make your money. So how much product are you going to sell? That's the first thing you have to figure out. So if we start with the livestock systems, what typically dictates how much product you're going to sell, or one of the key, is your stocking rate. So if you're a dairy farmer and you happen to be on some of the best soils in the country, then you can look at growing crops like multi-species swards, as we see there in that photo. You can look at growing crops like red clover silage. You can look at growing whole crop silage. You can look at putting white clover into a lot of your pastures, and you could probably stock your farm at somewhere close to the upper limit that's allowed in organics, which is 2 livestock units per hectare. On the other hand, if you're on more heavier clay type soils, and there's a higher rainfall areas, then possibly some of the crops that I've outlined there in the first are probably not realistic for you to implement in your farm. So the likes of the paddock there we see in that photo, like, we wouldn't be suggesting you plough that up and put in multi-species swards there, or even put in red clover silage. In that situation, you would be trying to match the stocking rate to what actually the farm can naturally grow in that situation, which is probably somewhere around 1 livestock units per hectare, give or take. But so rather than plowing up these old permanent pastures, which have a high habitat value and a high biodiversity value, we would be saying match the stocking rate to what that farm can actually grow, maybe then trying to force other crops to grow on it. And then if you're a hill sheep farmer and you're looking at a farm that looks like this, well, then one livestock unit per hectare is probably miles too high for you. So you need to look at maybe the new lower limit that's been introduced in the scheme of the 0.15 livestock unit per hectare. And that's, look, all three of those situations that I've up there on the screen, they can all be very profitable situations. So it isn't that we would be saying to everyone, you have to try get to this situation over here and try get to 2 livestock units. It's all about matching the stocking rate to what your farm can naturally grow, and to try to minimize external inputs as much as possible. And I suppose maybe in that middle situation, if you are using a lot of fertilizer at the moment, or maybe using a little bit of fertilizer, you have to ask yourself, if I cut back on that fertilizer and I eliminate that fertilizer, what can my farm carry? And you have to work that out for yourself. What can your farm carry? So then if we look at the top, again, what are we looking at output? So if you're a beef farmer, you have to work out how many cows can I carry? Or if I'm a finishing farmer, how many bullocks and heifers can I finish? And equally, you need to ask yourself, what weight can I get them to? So you have to actually figure out how many animals can I sell in a year and what weight will they be? And it's the same in the dairy, it's the same in the sheep. You have to work out how much produce you can sell. So the same thing there, the livestock systems. The same principle applies in a cropping situation. So you're a tillage farm, you are used to growing 3 tons to the acre of barley or oats or wheat, but now you're looking at organics and you're saying to yourself, what am I going to grow now? I've no fertilizer now to drive the crop, so what will it grow? So you have to figure out for yourself, based on your soil type, will you grow 1.5 tons to acre? Will you grow 2? Will you grow 2.5? And the easiest way to do that is to look at other farms that are on similar soil types. And if you go onto the Teagasc website, if you even put in Teagasc Organics there, you'll find a lot of booklets from previous farm walks, and there would be a lot of them on tillage farms, and you'll see there roughly what they would be growing. You have all the walks coming up over the next number of months as well. Go to one that you think is nearest to what you're doing. Try figure out what is a realistic return for you to grow on your farm. And once you've figured out the tons, it allows you to make a fair estimate of how much money you're going to bring in the gate on that tillage farm. Equally, with horticulture production, what I find is with the most efficient horticultural organic growers, they can look at a bed of carrots, and nearly just by looking at it, they can tell you how many kilos of carrots they're going to get out of it and how much money they're going to get out of that bed of carrots. So you need to be able to quantify the amount of produce that you're going to grow to be able to make any stab at a kind of a financial projection, really. And it's the same across whether it's a livestock or a crop enterprise. So hopefully at this stage, you have some ideas to how to go about how to quantify how much produce you're going to sell, whether it is meat, milk, or horticultural products. The next thing we need to figure out is how much you're going to get paid. So that's the key thing per price a unit. So where you're going to sell it is the first thing. So if we look at the conventional sector, typically you sell your produce to the local factory, or you sell it to the local co-op, or you sell it to the local miller. In organics, that option is there too for you. So in we'd say the dairy side of things, you have 5 processors. You take the likes of, you've the Little Milk Company, you've Glenisc, you have Arabon or Revo, you have the Village Dairy in Carlow. So they would be your milk price there in organics. It's probably near enough to conventional at the moment. Slightly above it, you're probably getting mid-40s for spring calving, mid to late 40s for spring calving milk, and early 50 cents per litres for autumn calving milk on average. And people are saying maybe that's not high enough above conventional milk. But if you put it out over a 5 or a 10-year period, it is a 10 or 20% premium above conventional milk. So if you went to the bank in the morning to borrow 100,000 for milk and powder, they're not going to accept the business plan with you showing that you're getting 41 cents of a base price for your milk. You have to put in what you think you're going to get over the next 5 to 10 years. And you need to do the same when it comes to organics. You need to look at this over a 5 or 10-year period. What am I going to get. You look at beef at the moment, we see there in the papers at the moment that the beef price is heading up to 5 cents a kilo, but that's the prime animal. The average is probably 470, 480. Organic beef price at the moment is around 540, and it's expected to move to 560 in the next month or two. So again, that's somewhere around a 10 or a 15% premium, which is what we can expect. Sometimes I think maybe we expect a bit more, too much from organics from what the market can deliver. Borbia's figures would say that the consumer is willing to pay about 15% of a premium for the product. So that if that's passed on to the farmer on the ground, that's probably what's realistic. So you have to factor in that is the likely margin, especially for the likes of the beef, the sheep, dairy products. Another option then is if you want to maybe get a higher value for a product is the direct selling. So like we have a good few very good examples of people selling horticultural produce in the veg in the box, like you see there, direct to the consumer's door. In that case, you're probably getting more than 100% of the premium. You're getting double what you would be getting if you were selling it into a retailer. So there is ways here of extracting maximum value for the produce you sell. Now, accepted the amount of work that goes into this, because now all of a sudden you're the marketing manager and you're the salesman and you're the delivery man as well as the primary producer. So maybe you might have be able to survive on a smaller scale here, so you mightn't have as much work, but you have a lot more work to do on that, and that involves a certain set of skills that you have to ask yourself, am I capable of doing, or am I capable of learning? Another just example there is a milk vending machine selling milk direct to the customers, which we're seeing appearing in more and more, and there's opportunities. And I accept these not everyone can do these, but some people can do these. If you take an example of a 100 cow dairy herd getting 5,000 litres of cow, that's 500,000 litres. If you get 40 cents for that milk and your cost of 30 cents, that's 10 cents profit. So that's 50,000 of a profit for that farm in very simple maths. Let's look at another farmer, the next door neighbour. He's got 20 cows doing 5,000 litres. So he's selling 100,000 litres, but he's got one of these and he's selling his milk for €1 a litre, probably get more, but let's use €1 a litre. And he's also costing him 30 cents to produce a litre. He's got 70 cents of a margin on his 100,000 litres. So that's 70,000. So cow numbers, if you can extract maximum value for your product, it's another way of increasing the amount of money you can get in the gate. As I say, it does involve extra work, it does involve extra set of skills, but it is an option for some people. So now, hopefully at this stage, we have an idea of how much produce we're going to sell. We have an idea of what we're going to get paid for each unit of that produce. So the next thing we need to look at is what's it going to cost us to produce all this. So when you convert to organics, there's some costs are going to go up, but there's more costs going to go down. So let's look at the ones that are likely to go down. So the most obvious one is the fertilizer bill. It was a big bill before this year, but it's going to be an even bigger bill this year. We all know what's happening with fertilizer prices. We also all know what's happening in the moment with the Russia-Ukraine situation. So it's unlikely that the price of fertilizer is going to improve anytime soon. A low estimate would be the fertilizer bills are going to double this year. So you have a choice of staying conventional and leaving your fertilizer bill double, or look at organics and eliminating it. So it is a huge saving if you do look at it. Meal. Some people might say, hang on, meal is double the cost in organics than it is in conventional. And you'd be right, it is close enough to being double. But when you go to organics, we would typically expect a lower stocking rate. We would expect the intensification of most systems to reduce back a bit. And we would expect to see a lower dependence on imported concentrates. If you look at the picture there that we're looking at, finishing cattle eating meal, we have some great examples in organics of farmers that are finishing cattle on just purely right clover silage or whole crop silage. So not only have they eliminated this bill from their system, they've eliminated this bill from their system, and they're the two biggest bills on most dry stock farms. So there are ways of doing it with and making a very good profit without relying on these two costs. Take the tillage farmer, his or her two biggest bills are the fertilizer and the spray. So if we can get rid of the two of them, you're leaving yourself. So yes, your tons might have gone from 3 tons down to 2 tons per acre, but your costs, you've taken out the two biggest costs. So you need to look what's the impact of that on the bottom line. So again, look, no two farms are the same. Everyone has to sit down and look at their own costs and see what difference is converting to organics going to mean for me. But as I said, not all costs go down, some are going to go up. So as Elaine outlined earlier there, one of the requirements is that 50% of the housing has to be solid floor area, and most of that is ideally going to be straw bedded. So that straw is going to cost money. So you need to ask yourself, I know farmers last year that got straw for €7 or €8 a bale in the southeast, out of directly from the field, from the tillage neighbour next door. I also know farmers in the west of Ireland that paid 25 and €30 to get the same bale of straw delivered to their yard in the west of Ireland. So which one are you? Can you get it for a tenner or can you get it for 30? You need to know what the cost of the straw is. Equally, you need to know how much straw you need to use. A rough rule of thumb I would be saying is 5 bales per livestock unit over the winter months. So if you can figure out how many livestock units you're going to be wintering, and that's a full livestock unit, a cow equivalent. So how many cows or how many cattle are you going to be wintering on straw, and how many bales of straw do you need, and how much is that going to cost you? Because it is one of the costs that change most, especially on dry stock farms. If you're a tillage farmer, you now have to buy organic seed, and you're probably going to have to use a higher seeding rate in organics as well. So you've more seed to buy and you have to pay more for it. So you do a bit of homework, talk to any organic tillage farmers you know, go onto the seed company's websites, a lot of them will have the prices up there, see what the cost of organic seed is, and factor that into your calculations. And the final one there is the paperwork. Organic has to have an increased level of inspections. It's the thing, the whole thing is built on it. The customer has to have trust on the system, so the inspections have to be a part of it. But that involves you getting inspections from the certification bodies, and they need to make a living too. So there is a licensing fee there, and it varies depending on the acres you have. But for small scale horticulture, it can be less than €200. For larger grassland farms, it can cost you €600-700 a year to renew your license. So maybe talk to one of the certification bodies and get an idea of what that fee is going to be. So I suppose now at this stage, hopefully, we know what we're selling, we know what we're getting, and we have an idea of what costs are going to go up, we have an idea of what costs are going to go down. So next thing we need to look at, if I go to farming organically, do I have to make investments in certain areas? And what are they going to cost me? And what are they going to do? Once at this stage now we have a net profit, but sometimes net profit can be misleading, because sometimes net profit, some of it has to go to the bankman, some of it has to go to the taxman. So in this case, we need to figure out what are we going to borrow and how much are we going to give back. So you're looking at horticulture as an enterprise. Do you need polytunnels? What are they going to cost? Can I get a grant aid on polytunnels? Kevin and Elaine have touched them. These are all covered in the TAMS grant aid. If I'm a tillage farmer, I can no longer use herbicides. Do I need to look at mechanical ways of weeding the crop? Do I need to get equipment to do that? The TAMS organic scheme, the investment scheme, it is well worth looking at the list of equipment. There's a massive range of equipment in there that you won't get in any other TAMS scheme. There's everything from dung spreaders to harrows like that, to disc harrows, to mulchers, you name it. There's a vast range of equipment in there, all eligible for grant aid. So look at what you need and look at what you can grant aid on, cost it, and see what is the next cost to you. If you're the beef farmer, one of the biggest costs you're going to have to do is to modify the housing. So you have to put in the 50% solid floor area. That in some cases, that's going to be an easy enough conversion. There might be a shed next door to it that you can convert. In other cases, it might mean building a new straw bedded shed. Again, the new shed, the conversion is not eligible for grant aid, but the new shed is. So just do your costings, figure out how much it is going to cost you, and then factor in maybe that you borrow it over 5 years or 7 years, and see how much you'd actually have to pay back to the bank after you get your grant aid. And you may be surprised, it mightn't be that massive. So it's worth, just do the sums and look and see what you have to spend. This is another one I just threw in. By going into organics, you're diversifying your system, but maybe when you get into organics, you can diversify it further. There might be other opportunities that might present themselves to you. If you're a horticulture grower and you've decided you're going selling your produce at the local farmers market, maybe you could have a better range of products on the table in front of you. Maybe there's an option for organic eggs. They tie in nicely to a horticultural system. The hens will fertilize the ground and clean it up for you in a rotational system. Organic pigs will do the same thing. So these typically are add-on enterprises. If your farm is full of biodiversity and you've a lot of high nature value paddocks and diverse paddocks, maybe a few beehives might tie in nicely with the whole system. Maybe there's a market there, organic honey is in high demand at the moment. So there are all these opportunities that are out there that could be tagged on to an existing organic enterprise. And it's, I suppose, just about keeping the eyes open and seeing what maybe could you add on to your farm. And finally, Kevin has touched on this, is the support payments. That's why you're here tonight, to find out about the organic farming scheme. You take someone with 70 hectares, a hill farm maybe in the west of Ireland, you can get 15,400 in the first 2 years in conversion. Like, that's a significant payment. Like, it's hard not to look closer at it. You also need to look at maybe the eco schemes that are out there. How will they interact with each other? The likes of the glass and the reef. Yes, there is issues with double funding in them. We're hoping maybe under the newer environment schemes that come out next year that some of those double funding issues mightn't be as harsh. And so, but we need to just maybe look closely at how can you maximize and get the maximum benefit of these schemes. Then there's a whole host of other schemes. That's a picture there from the Burn Life program, their website, and that ties in nicely with organics, and you can maximize payments on them fairly well. There's in Harrier schemes, there's NPWS schemes. So how do they interact with each other, and how can you maximize them? Because they are going to add to the bottom line. That's the reality of it. So just do the sums is what I would say. So look, I hope there that I've taken you from the output through the costs, through maybe what you need to do in terms of infrastructure, through the support payments. And before I hand back to Glenn, I just want to touch on one or two other slides here, just to give you kind of the overview. This is a slide that I just came across earlier today, and it just shows where this is the organic area across Europe. So in Europe, the average amount of land devoted to organics is 8.5% across Europe, and we're over here, we're on 2%. Now, you can look at that negatively, you can look at positively. I look at that as a huge opportunity. What's happening with these countries over here is they're probably maxing out, that maybe there isn't much room to increase the organic area further, whereas over here there's huge room to drive it on a bit and maybe to increase our organic area. And if we look at the next slide, this is one that FIBL, who are one of the leading organic research institutes in Europe and the world, put out last week. So they looked at the retail sales growth over the past 20 years, so from 2000 to 2020. And this one here is the retail growth. So in those 20 years, it has gone up by 700%. So what that's saying is that the European consumer, the demand that they have for organic produce has gone up by 700% in that 20-year period. The bottom line here then is the amount of land that has been converted in that same period. That's only gone up by 300%. So the level of demand is outstripping the level of supply by more than 2 to 1. So there's huge opportunity starting to present itself here on our doorstep, one of the biggest organic markets that is there in the world. And there's what's happening is some of the major countries, the French, the Germans, the Dutch, that their domestic supply can't keep up to the consumer demand. So they're going to have to start importing organic produce to meet that demand. So there's huge opportunities starting to arise here. And this was the bit of text that went with that graph. And if you just read it, like what I suppose the most important thing here is that they said, should this trend continue, it is bound to impact on organic farmland growth, making it more likely that the European Commission's aim of achieving an organic area of 25% by 2030 will be achieved. So I suppose what it's saying to me is I think the rest of Europe has copped on that organics is the way to go. The consumer is demanding it. The farmers are responding it. We're possibly a small bit behind the curve, but there's a huge opportunity here if Ireland wants to kind of become part of this surge towards organics as well. And there's huge opportunities. And yes, I hope when you do your sums, as we've laid them out there tonight, that there is money to be made out of it by joining what's happening here in Europe. So Glenn, that's it. I'll hand it back to you there now.
Very good, Joe. Very good. Now, we've a lot of questions coming in. So I think we should get straight at those. You can see the questions, Kevin, as well. Can you unmute? Kevin, great. You can see the questions as well.
Yes, I'm seeing some questions, yeah.
Okay, so I'll take them in the order that I see them coming in there. So I've some answered briefly, and then just kind of I was going to qualify them with yourself. So I see one from Michael Byrne there, 8 o'clock. Can you elaborate on the process for obtaining an accelerated conversion plan where there are exceptions from the 2-year rule? What documentation are the organic bodies looking for to support this reduction in timeline? And this is in regards to horticulture conversion. So
yeah,
Elaine or yeah, Kevin, okay.
yeah. We would get this on occasions from horticulture producers, and basically we're talking about farmers who haven't applied any pesticides for a number of years. And so we'd be looking for documentation, evidence of that. And I suppose what we look for is an affidavit basically stating that nothing was applied for so many years. And soil samples may be required then from the OCBs. I don't know, Elaine or Joe, have you anything else to add to that?
Yeah, that's correct. Yet the OCBs would, I think it's a sworn affidavit that they would require from the farmer stating this, and it's judged on a case by case. So that would be the application that you would have to make to the certification body first.
That's fine. That's great. Now listen, there's a question down the line. I'm going to deal with it now because it's similar. A person came in with a query that they were organic. I think they said 15 years ago, so that's lapsed. Do they have to go through a full 2-year conversion as well? Or would that be an affidavit situation as well, maybe, Kevin?
They would go through the conversion process again.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, they would.
That's fine. So next one, I don't know who will handle this. How does grazing rights or hill rights on commonage tie into land that can be used? So hill rights on commonage.
So basically, you're not entitled to an organic farming scheme payment on commonage.
Okay.
So on the BPS, it will be declared as commonage, and there won't be any payment on that due to the fact that there's the potential for mixing of stock and inability to control. So that's the reason there.
Okay. So I'll keep going through the what we call the open questions. Some are answered that I need clarification on. I see Matthew Lydon. I think I know the answer to this. Does the straw used for bedding have to come from an organic farm? So the answer to that is no. That's your question, Matthew. Now, can I use a liquor for rushes? So a weed liquor. Do you want to handle that one, Elaine? Another no on that one? Okay.
No, no. Not allowed.
So no pesticide allowed whatsoever. Isn't that it, Elaine? Yeah.
Yes, correct.
What are the expected increase in all other holdings funding going to be from next year? So maybe Kevin.
Yeah. We, as I mentioned earlier, we have submitted a draft plan to the Commission. There is substantial increase for dairy. And so because we're anxious to encourage conversion from conventional dairy, there's also increase for the tillage and horticulture sector, with a slight increase only for grassland farmers. Now, whether they'll be reviewed again before the end of this year, that remains to be seen. But they're the figures at the moment anyway.
Okay. So this could be, our land hasn't been farmed in 15 odd years. No fertilizers or sprays have been used. Is this an advantage to the conversion period? So maybe Elaine.
Yeah, I suppose again, it depends on what it's going to be used for. Again, you'd make the application to certification body. You could get that accelerated 1 year in conversion payment. 1 year in conversion before. You have to do a minimum of 12 months in conversion. So it may apply, you may be able to get your full conversion in 12 months. And I presume, Kevin, then you'd only get the 1 year in conversion payment then as well.
Yeah, that's right. And I suppose the flip side of that, Elaine, is if I'm a grassland farmer,
yes,
why wouldn't I avail of the higher payments for 2 years? You know. Now, again, if I have a market for my stock, yes, but we have to balance it out. And as Joe has said, do the sums, you know.
Okay. So that's perfect. Thanks for that. So regarding the QQI level 5 qualification, are there any exemptions? So as if a holder of a level 7 in horticulture, including sustainable food production, do you know that one, Elaine? Is that acceptable?
Well, no, I don't. If they have done a module equivalent to the 25-hour organic farming principles module, isn't that right, Kevin? You would take a look at it.
Yeah, each of those will be on a case-by-case basis to see what was involved in this other course that was conducted. You know, so if there was an organic element to it, possibly yes. You know, so. But if they dropped us an email on that one, we'd certainly respond to that.
Yeah, I was just going to say that the email address again, organics@agriculture.gov.ie.
That's right.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's great, Kevin. Next one there, once the glass is finished, can you include that land after application? So I suppose, Kevin, it depends if they finished their glass last Christmas or if they're still in glass. It depends, doesn't it?
Yes. And all the land would have been farmed organically anyway, and the glass parcels there'd be no payment on organics for the glass parcels. So if they're not in glass, it would automatically come into payment. So because the two systems basically look at each other, and if it's not on a glass payment or a glass action that there's an area-based payment, you would get the organic payment. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Once the glass is finished. So a question from Aoife there. Where can you access more detailed information in relation to the support schemes available?
Again, on the department's website, they're all there listed, all the TAMs, the OCIS, organic capital investment schemes, and the rates for the organic farming scheme. So they should be all there. Yeah.
Okay, great. Let's see, glass I've completed. Okay, I've completed an organic course and received my cert in 2015. Is this acceptable? Is it still acceptable?
Yes, it is acceptable. Yes.
Yeah.
Doesn't run out of date. So.
Okay, good. Can I buy hay from a non-organic farmer? Hay as opposed to straw now in this case.
So this is feed. So no. So it's convention. That's what they're saying, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that'd be it, Kevin. I suppose something we come across, and myself and Joe were at a farm walk there a week or two ago. We've a farmer in the West here, organic. He'd be importing slurry from a non-organic farmer. So slurry is okay, but this is feed. Yeah. So that's in non-organic case not allowed. Organic feed only. Yes. When will I know I have been approved for the organic scheme? So the timeline on that, what are you hoping for?
We're saying September, October time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Can sheep be treated with pour-on to prevent fly strike? So I think that's, Elaine, that's fine as long as the vet you run it by the vet. Is that the case there?
That would be the case, yeah.
Yeah, you can't allow, say, animal welfare grounds. You have to be treated for the summer prevention of fly strike. Yeah.
Yeah, there's permitted products. Yeah, and it's just a longer withdrawal time. That it would be in and around twice the withdrawal time. But if it's needed and it's veterinary supervised and it's signed off and it's recorded, no problem at all.
Yeah, I think sheep farmers are they're well attuned, say, to the withdrawal period of them anyway. So they're aware. And so question from John there, what prevents potato blight? Is it resistant varieties?
Yeah,
he's coming across this on a spray question. But
yeah, there is a copper-based product that is permitted to be allowed. I can't think of what the name of it, but it's a copper-based, and you are allowed to use that. But there is conditions as regards the amount of it that you can use, but that you get more proper details from the certification bodies. But you can use a copper-based, is licensed to be used.
That's great, Elaine. So question from Matthew. Yes, you may be a hill farmer, but okay, I'll go through all this question. Okay, right. So yes, you may be a hill farmer farming 100 hectares, but if 50 of those hectares are your share of commonage, you don't get any recognition for those commonage hectares in the organic scheme, even though, in my opinion, the commonage, which is in the main SAC, is the most organic of all land, with some of the most pristine habitats. I think there should be recognition in the organic scheme for all our land which we farm. As I say, most commonages are SEC and therefore sprays and fertilizer are not allowed. Yes, declared as commonage on BPS, but declared as owned just because they mix is sometimes, and the commonage should not, in my view, exclude this land for payment. So I suppose that's just a comment on potential for commonage, maybe, you know. Can you use granular lime on organic farms? Elaine, as opposed to?
Yes, granular lime is permitted.
Granular lime is
yes.
fine. Okay, that's great. Sinead, I have a FETAC level 5 horticulture done 2012. So I suppose it depends on the layout of the course and the modules involved and an email to the organic unit. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
If fluke known to be high risk in an area, will winter dosing be allowed, as I don't dose routinely stock? So yes, again, that answer to that is yes, a fluke dose is fine in conjunction with a vet plan. We can't have animal cruelty, especially the last couple of weeks we have. I think there will be fluke dosing required in a lot of places, organic and non-organic. Our farm is owned by a charity. Who should do the organic course, the charity chairperson or the 3 farmers who are employees?
I would say the farmer should do the course, and the farmer's name should also appear on the organic license. So just to ensure that there's no issue there, and maybe when they're doing their BPS, that the farmer is there, linked there as well, if possible. You know, so I wonder who's the herd number under. You know, that's a question there.
It's possibly one of the employees, a herd keeper, I would imagine. So that whoever's designated herd keeper will probably be best placed.
That's exactly, yeah. Okay,
that's grand. So question from Kira there, can I dip my sheep? So as opposed to a pour on, I'm not fully sure on that one, Elaine or Kevin or Joe.
Yeah, I think there are dips that are, you're not allowed. Organophosphates are not permitted, but I think, but there are certain dips that can be permitted. What I would say is, again, all products that are used in all of this are all certified by the organic certification body for use. So just double check with the product before speak to the certification body. But there are products available.
Good advice. Can you vaccinate for diseases? So that's fine. There's no problem there, Goretti. More information as regards fluke and worm drench in sheep. More information as regards. So I think that's more information is required. So maybe via them at this stage, if you're seriously thinking about organic application, you'll be contacting and looking up the organic certification body, so you can get more information from their organic bodies there, maybe on that one. Sinead again, does the course have to say organic on cert? It was organic in nature. So I think this might be going back to a previous question from Sinead. Yeah, I have a FETAC level 5 horticulture. So listen, I think it's a matter of basically sending them the details and the modules involved, the qualifications to yourselves again, Kevin.
Yeah, I think that's the best thing, Glenn. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I hope that's okay, Sinead. Is regular foot bathing of sheep with bluestone allowed? I imagine so. Again, write it into the veterinary plan. If you have an issue in your area with lameness or whatever, I can't see that being a problem, Sinead or Elaine.
No, again, onto the health plan, and just when you talk to the certification body as well.
Yeah, that's fine. So is it a 5-year scheme in relation to lease land? If the lease is not renewed after 5, 7, 10-year period, how does this affect the payment? So a lease requirement, Kevin, on the...
Yeah, so the lease would want to be there for the duration of the contract anyway, and probably wise to have it for 6 years, you know, just in case that you don't have control of the land for the last year of the contract or the last few months of the contract. So it's really just to cover yourself there.
So
because,
maybe,
I suppose just in the current scheme, we had people who came in 2015 and 2016, and we have offered them a 1-year extension, and then we offered them another year extension. So some of them contracts are run up to 7 years. So just to be mindful of that, we'd you know, at the end of the rural development period, you don't know what's going to happen, you know. So it's as well to have it for as long as possible.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, very good. Land transfer is not complete yet for my father, but I plan to farm it organically. Can I apply for the scheme yet, or what would be recommended?
Okay, here maybe the herd number mightn't be in the name yet, and it might be with the local district veterinary office in the department. So again, if it isn't in the name, contact us and we will arrange something. You know, we sometimes accept in exceptional circumstances a paper application form if they don't have a herd number themselves, you know. But contact us early in the process and we'll discuss it.
I'm not sure, is that what we call a Repsov case, where sometimes a herd number or herd owner will pass away, and it takes a while for the, you know well, Kevin, the herd number to change hands. So that's good to know that you can deal with that. Can you feed molasses to sheep? From Peter McManus. That's a detailed question. I'd say maybe one to just double check that with the organic body. What do you think, Kevin or Elaine? I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah, I wouldn't be qualified to answer that one. So yes, I think the best thing is to contact the organic control body.
Okay. Regarding the non-payment of commonage. So maybe I see Matthew McGreehan wants a further comment. So maybe we get back. We've a lot of questions still to get through. They're still coming in, and I have 24 other questions. So hopefully, Matthew, if you maybe send your email address, would that be work, Kevin, or something?
That's fine. But I suppose in short, it's the payment isn't there at the moment for commonage. Who knows? In the next CAP strategic plan, it might be considered down the road, but it's not there at the moment, you know. And look, we hear what Matthew was saying. We understand what he's saying, but that's the current situation.
Okay, hope that's okay, Matthew. Marie Brennan, I'm getting loss on all of my farm. Will this payment be affected by going into organic? So basically, if she's getting it on all her farm, there's no room left for an organic payment. Is that my reading right there?
I think so. Again, probably has 10 hectares or a little under, and maybe it's all on area-based actions in GLOS. So you would be farming it all organically, but getting a GLOS payment. So you wouldn't be getting any payment if that is the situation.
So maybe next year, Marie, when your GLOS runs out after 22, you might have an option of the new GLOS equivalent scheme or organics maybe at that stage. But at this stage, it's just GLOS only. Must the seed be organic in conversion if the corn is for home consumption only?
The ruling with sourcing seed in organics, as I said, you have the database there with all the organic seed suppliers, organicxseed.com. But if you cannot find the seed that you're looking for, you can look for permission from your organic certification body to use a non-organic untreated seed. So that is there, that derogation process. So you must look for the permission from your certification first. So that is available to people.
That's great, So question from Derek. So maybe this one is for Joe. Is there a cost to the regular farm audits, compliance checks? Does the annual farm plan fee of 600 cover this?
Yeah, the €600 is the fee for the farm audit stroke compliance check. So yeah, it does cover it, I suppose.
Yeah,
answer.
that's it. Good. Can livestock be in a winter? Can we outwinter livestock? Is the question. Now we got this question. I answered it already, but to a different person. So do you want to cover this one, Elaine or Joe?
Yes, is the answer. You can outwinter stock. It's subject to the normal nitrate rules that the good agricultural practice that the land can't be poached. You have to have the 1 livestock unit per hectare stocking rate. So it depends on soil type. Like, you wouldn't be recommending it on very heavy soils.
Yeah, that's fine. So if you're in Glass until December 22 and the hen harrier is the only measure that is claimed, can you apply for organics payment this year?
No, I suppose the question there is the hen harrier on all the holding? If not, and it's on a different parcel, well, you'd get paid organics on the parcel that isn't in the hen harrier under Glass. So that depends there. Now, if all the holding is hen harrier and it's over 19 hectares, which is the maximum payment you could have, which equates to the Glass payment, you would get paid on anything above 19 hectares in the organic scheme.
Okay.
But David, if you want to email us in, we'd look at that one closely. All right.
Okay, that's fine. We're nearly getting to into these questions. So I'm planning to go farming in the future. I have a degree in agricultural science and animal and crop production from about 15 years ago. Would I need to do the course? So the answer I would say is yes. The thing about the course as well is, and I was at one with Joe 2 weeks ago, it's, as we say in this part of the country, it's no skin off your back. It's like what you learn at the course will benefit you going forward into your organic farming career. You know, so 15 years ago, fair enough, but I would say they're very beneficial courses, and part of the course is going out to an organic farmer who will bestow their knowledge, and there's great discussion and everything. So I would see it as a vital part of the whole process, really. So that's what I would say to that. Matthew is happy with his answer on the commonage. That's good to hear. We mountain men live in hope for equality in the next cap. That's good to hear. What is the fee when you submit your application to the organic body? So I suppose there's 2 parts to that. There's your planner fee will be either a Teagasc or a private planner fee for doing up the application. That will probably depend on your farm area. And in tandem with that, you'll have a fee for being certified organic. That's the certification body's fee, which is, as Kevin said, 500 to 600 per year. The fee to do up your plan is a once-off fee, and Teagasc will or your private planner will have a cost associated with that. What is the fee? I think we've got to all the open questions, the answered ones. We'll run through those. I've them kind of answered in my own way, I suppose. The recording will be going out. Joe put up the link there. I have a block of land for 10 years from an uncle. There's turbary rights, which I have excluded on my BPS. Does this affect putting into organics? Uncle is the sole owner of the land. Can you see that one there, Kevin?
I don't.
From Paul. So if you go into answered,
yeah.
Answered question. So I just
yes,
did a quick answer to these to come back to clarify. Yeah. So if you go down as far as Paul Carkle 735.
Yeah.
I have a block of land. Yeah.
Yeah, I see. Well, if he has excluded it from his BPS and then he has other land as well, I take it that's what he's saying.
Yeah.
So he can farm organically and get paid the organic farm scheme on the other land. So he won't get paid on the turbary rights land.
And the 10 years is covered from the uncle and that side of it. So the time frame. So I think he's just maybe worried about the turbary rights aspect or something. So that's fine. Recording. So a couple of questions were just on the stocking rate, and so the 0.15 is basically a yo. So we got to a question there, Kevin, where say someone has X amount of hectares on their basic payment, call it large areas in Connemara, like 200, but they might have 100 yos or 150 yos. What is their situation, Kevin? Do you want to?
Yeah, so basically, it must equate to, so do the calculation, and all the organic land that they have declared on the BPS, the stocking rate is calculated on that land.
Right.
So, and if they don't have let's say their stocking rate equates to 70%, well, they would receive a 70% organic farming scheme payment.
Yeah.
So if they don't, if they don't have sufficient stock to cover the land.
Yeah, that's great. I'm trying to think of the person there. We'll get to the question that answers it perfectly. Okay, so 2 or 3 questions came in along the lines of people are going to apply, and basically I took the onus of saying that there's a high percentage chance that most people will get accepted. Is that a fair comment, Kevin?
Oh, it is, yeah.
Yeah.
There was 5 million set aside for this particular scheme, and we believe that there will be sufficient funds there to allow all eligible applications. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
perfect. So I think that covers Graham's question there. Minimum 5-year. Right. So I'll read out this question. In the event of not having a minimum 5-year lease on a portion of land, what happens with this land? Is it farmed conventionally, or does it need to be managed organically but not getting payments? So.
Okay, well there now you have I suppose if you had a different crop type or different, you could have, let's say if you were having cereals and livestock, you could have the cereals non-organic, so you could continue conventionally there. But if it's all animals, it's all beef farming, you would have to farm it all organically.
Right.
And that other piece, if it's like if there's a lease on it, you'd need a 5-year lease on that portion of land. Yeah.
Portion, yeah, maybe a lease extension needed there or something, but
possibly,
yeah. So what happens if you register and later change your mind? So is it possible to withdraw? Maybe you enter now before the April deadline, and then maybe May or June you have a change of heart. Is that contact yourselves?
Yeah, contact us. But yes, you could certainly withdraw. You've incurred the cost of
certification
body and whatever else.
Yeah.
But look at if it's a thing that you decide to withdraw before you receive your first payment or before you get approved, that's certainly your own choice, you know.
Okay. So I'm coming back up to the question from David O'Toole. So I've answered that. So hopefully, David, you understand that, and you can do your own calculation. 185 euros. Hopefully that question's answered for you. I've answered the routine veterinary one. Can wood chip be used? We kind of went through this earlier. Maybe I think as long as it's not treated, is that
untreated?
Yes,
untreated, permitted. Yeah,
that's fair comment. So, can cattle be out winter? We've done that. Commonage, we covered that. So in 2023, I think this person is asking, will organic farmers be allowed into the new reps loss scheme next year?
Yes, they will. And okay, the schemes, the AECM, which is the new replacement of GLOS, for want of a better word, that's currently been, well, it's in the CAP strategic plan, and we're hoping that we will have a better interaction between the organic farming scheme and that scheme, where we would get an organic farmer would get payment on that, or at least a part payment. So that's what we're looking at the moment. We're trying to find ways, but we have to be mindful of the double payment issue, which is an EU rule that you basically can't get paid on the same land for the same action. And that's the issue there. It isn't an Irish thing, it's an EU thing. But we're talking to our colleagues and trying to resolve that issue.
Great, Kevin, that's fine. That looks positive. So Pádraig McSweeney, I've covered that one already about going back 15 years. I think you're okay with that, Pádraig. So we've done that one. So maybe one here, I've answered this, but smaller holdings, 3 hectares, 4 hectares, is it suitable? I suppose it is, suitable. The payment will be small because of the area, but do you have any comments, folks, on that one?
Yeah, look, the as you say, it's paid on a per hectare rate, so the payment is going to be 700-800 euros in that situation there in conversion. You will have some costs. Look, some people go into it based on principles. Some people want to do direct selling of beef, and in that situation, maybe something that person is looking at. But yeah, look, the payment will be small, but that still doesn't mean you shouldn't go into it. Okay, good.
Double check on this one, folks. Board BA membership is not required. Am I right there? Or am I wrong there? Is it a prerequisite, Kevin?
It isn't, no. I presume they're talking about the quality assurance there.
Yeah,
but yeah,
right,
yeah. But it's not, no.
That's fine, yeah. I answered this question, basically, Elaine, I heard you answering this the last day. How long is the process taken to register with the organic bodies? A week to 2 weeks? Is that a fair comment? Or is it taking longer?
It'd be quicker.
Quicker, again, within a week?
Or quicker, or less, within, the minute they get it, they do it straight away. So it's done immediately from the time of paper, yeah.
Great, yeah. Great,
no delay.
That's great. Can I still go organic with my own land if I have commonage? So you have commonage and you have owned land side by side. Just lay it out again for us, Kevin.
Yeah, so you would get paid on your own land, and no doubt your stock are on the commonage as well, but it is acceptable. It is managed. So I know it might appear like a contradiction to what we have said earlier, but it is permitted to have own land and commonage. You won't get paid on the commonage, and you'll get paid on the own land.
Okay, that's fair enough. So mats aren't equatable to straw bedding. I think that's fair. Yeah, that's okay. That's right. I've answered that one. Yeah, to that person already. What? Oh yeah, is there an good herdsman and they're like, say, Elaine and Joe? They've no age limit when cattle have to be finished by.
36 months typically, I think, Glenn.
Okay, grand. Okay, that answers that, Derek, I hope. I've answered that one. We've answered the more details one. I think we've got to the bottom of the screen. It's exactly 9 o'clock by my reading, Elaine. I hope my proficiency doesn't mean you'll be getting me again to do the. Oh, it does mean that. We've other questions, Elaine, from earlier. Will we still go to those, and Joe, or will we say 9 o'clock and?
But are there many?
Do you want to run through them very quickly?
Well, the question, yeah. So we had one question earlier, Elaine. I think Jean Cunningham. So the minimum size for organic farming, that's the 3 hectares, isn't it?
3 hectares grassland, 1 hectare is horticulture.
Horticulture, yeah.
Yes.
I'll keep going down. Do you have to grow all your own crops, or can you buy cereal in?
So you can buy, if you can source from another organic source, certainly you can buy them, yes.
Organic source. Can you just do beef organic? So the answer to that is fine, that's no bother. And the best way to fatten beef to make them factory fit?
The cheapest way is red clover silage or whole crop silage.
Very good. Yeah, that's so. We'll again, if you, this person is Jean is the name. If you want to look at what's a suitable farm walk that where we might have a farmer growing red clover, that would be a good option. That'll be covered also on the Teagasc and other courses that are being held, the 25-hour courses during the year. That was that question.
There's more questions out there in the open section, Glenn.
Oh, back into open again, okay. No. We'll just go down to the bottom, Joe, there. 2023, I'm interested in applying. Okay, maybe portion of land. Okay. Okay, so I think, is it back to maybe Graham Ronan there? I asked Elaine the question on the level 5 course on Tuesday, can hemp be used for cattle bedding? Does this come back to you, Elaine?
I think is it Kevin? Is it Kevin that's been thrown it now? Do you know Kevin? Is it on the approved list?
To be honest, I'm not too sure if it is, but we can check that out. Yeah, we'll check that one out.
Okay. What is the fee when you submit your application to the organic body? So I think we've covered that with the 5 or 600. I think that's,
well, it's typically lower in the first year. It's probably would be somewhere between 200 and 400, I would say. It goes up the following years because they have the inspection is where the work is. Okay, right. Okay, thanks, Joe. But there is an application fee on the application. So I think that's what I mentioned there. So your planner will have a fee, and that'll be a once-off fee to do up the application. And in terms of Teagasc, that's based on area. So portion of land in Glas 2022, does this get organic payment in 23? So I think what they're saying there is they're going to apply now. The land is in Glas in 22. The Glas is over, say, the back end of this year. Does it fall into organic next year?
Yes, it would. If they're not in any other scheme that is impacting on the payments, yes.
Yeah, so that's good news for Ted there. Maybe a bit of off topic. Can an old herd number be reactivated 15 years plus since an animal was on the farm?
I would say that herd number is probably dormant in the local, so contact our local district veterinary office, and they should be able to sort that out for them. Yeah, I'd say get on that one quick now because the DVOs will be getting busy. I'm interested in applying for the National Parks and Wildlife Service scheme. My farm has been in organics for 5 years now. Would it be possible to get payment for both schemes? Again, I need to look at the detail of the National Parks and Wildlife scheme. I'd say maybe if Joanne sends an email to the organic agriculture, maybe it's the best thing there. Okay, Joanne? Yeah, I think so, Joanne, yeah. Okay, great. Jim Gibbons in 23, the first year of conversion, if you were accepted this year. Is 2023 the first year of conversion? So no. When exactly is your first year up, maybe, of conversion? Yeah, the first year, it's basically 24 months from when you apply. So if you have your license from the 1st of March, it'll be 24 months. Very good. Okay, I hope that's okay, Jim. If index 1 for P and K, what fertilizer can you use other than slurry or farmyard manure? There's ground rock phosphate, there's a few organic products you can get, there's a few K products as well, like Calisop, Kieserite, things like that. But there are products there, but also equally you can use imported slurry or farmyard manure from a conventional farmer. You can use dairy sludge if it's approved. So there are options. Okay, great. Can high quality cow mats be used instead of straw? Example, spread the mats around the slats. So no is the answer, unfortunately, David, there. Can
Can cattle move between organic and non-organic fields?
No.
No, not a runner, John, sorry. Hello, would it be possible to grow enough winter feed without fertilizer?
All back to stocking rate. If you're you have to match your stocking rate to what you can grow. So that's an error on the low side rather than the high side. The first year would be the advice.
Okay, that's great. I think that's all the questions, folks. So with that, I'm going to close off the questions and say thanks very much to Elaine, Kevin and Joe for their time this evening. And I hope that you all got something from the webinar this evening. Kevin mentioned his website and his email address, and the Teagasc website is very useful as well. So we'll just say good night to you now and best of luck. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Glenn. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Glenn.
Bye, folks.